Welcome to Fire and Life Talk, transforming a world one heart at a time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Fire and Life Talk. I'm your host, Pastor Gary, and I'm excited to be with you today. You know, at Fire and Life International Ministries, our mission is to encourage, to empower, and to equip you to live a victorious life. So if you want to know more about our mission, about our calling, visit our website at fireandlife.org. That's fireandlife.org to learn more about our mission. So we encourage you today, because we have an awesome show today. We encourage you to comment, to ask questions throughout the show, and I'm sure that we'll get them up on the screen. So today's title is Amid Conflict, a Powerful Story Unfolds. And our guest today is Ruth Tidhar from Efrat in Israel. And this is going to be exciting. This is going to be exciting in what she does and how this whole organization operates. So stay tuned in. But before we do that, I want to bring in our co-host. Y'all know my lovely wife, my friend, co-host, everything. Let's welcome Gina to the platform.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Gina, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited about another show that
likewise,
we can be informed, influenced. I just love it.
Yeah, I got through that introduction this week. You noticed that?
Great job.
Yeah. Thank you. There was a lot of stuttering and everything, so we're getting better. We're so thankful. So today, I'm excited about the show today.
Yes, I am too.
Yeah, this is something that we went through personally, and we just seen the results of it, decades ago. So we understand a lot of the capacity that we're going to talk about today. And we have Ruth. I tell you what, let's just bring her onto the platform, introduce her to the people, and we'll go from there. So Fire and Life, give a warm welcome to our guest today, Ruth Tidhar, coming in today. She's actually in Jerusalem, correct, Ruth?
In my home in Jerusalem.
Hey, so welcome to the platform. Will, thank you so much for being here.
Yes.
And we're thrilled to have you on the show today, because your work with Efrat.
Pleasure for me too.
Your work with Efrat is so truly inspiring. And we look forward to hearing about the incredible work that you do. But for our visitors and our viewers that don't know, can you tell us what Efrat means?
Wow, Efrat. It's Efrat. It's a short Efrat.
Okay, Efrat. Okay.
It's the name of the organization that I've been privileged to be working for the past 23 years.
Wow.
As the head of the assistance department, we give health assistance, emotional support, financial and concrete support to pregnant women in distress and financial distress and social distress, and with all kinds of troubles that brought them to the thought that they had no choice but to abort their pregnancy, to terminate their pregnancy. And Efrat comes to give them a true choice, choice to choose to give their life to give life to their baby. These are women who feel in their hearts that abortion is not exactly the right thing, even though they're being pressured from all different directions, mostly, unfortunately, from the man in their lives, if it's their married husband or boyfriend, and but they feel inside that it's not exactly right, and they're deliberating and they're trying to decide what the right thing for them is to do is. And we come in this stormy intersection of this woman's life, we come in with a willing ear and a soft shoulder and good advice and the promise of concrete assistance, also during the pregnancy, but especially after the baby's born. Maybe I could tell you a bit about how it works and how women get to us in Israel. Well, yes. I'll tell you, it's in all different directions. On one hand, we advertise as much as we can possibly budget because it's so important. And on the other hand, it's a real grassroots organization in that people, I always ask, how did you hear about Efrat? How did you come to us? And the answer is often, I was sitting with girlfriends yesterday or with my cousin or with my sister, and I was crying to her that I have an appointment for an abortion. I don't really want to do it, but I have no choice. And she says, wait, stop, call Efrat. They helped me, or they helped my friend, or they helped someone I know, they'll help you. Don't do it. Don't do it so fast. Listen, wait, stop, breathe. That's the first message is.
And you know what, Ruth, in the midst of that, there's so many challenges. And as you're talking, of course, I can't put myself personally in the actual situation, but I'm thinking all the thoughts that's going to this lady or this young lady. And what I see Efrat doing is giving options. Yes. And that's kind of like in life when we have challenges, sometimes we just focus on the problem, and the challenges. And it's so awesome to have, someone to come in and, like you're saying, give you that peace and give you options and says, hey, we can make a difference in your life if you would just make that choice and allow us to do it.
That's right.
So what are some of the common challenges that the women go through?
We're talking about all ages, all of the childbearing ages, from a little bit before 20, a little bit after 40, and it's like a bell curve in the middle. Of all different ages. Over 50% are married, and they're in. I have to explain. Israel is not an easy place to live. It's a wonderful place, and I wouldn't trade it for any. It's home, totally home for me and for all of us. But it's difficult. The financial situation here knows ups and downs, and they're pretty extreme, and with wars and anxieties and terrorist attacks, and there's all it's a very not a quiet place to live. Let's say it's not it's not your U.S. Midwest as I imagined it to be. It's challenging. Life is very challenging here. And some of the challenges are even like mundane finances. It's hard. It's difficult.
Yeah.
The woman knows that she has 2 or 3 kids already, and she got pregnant by accident. She was using birth control. She didn't mean to get pregnant, but it happened. And what are we going to, now what am I going to do? There's a pregnancy. What am I going to do? I barely, close off, pay my bills as it is. How am I going to manage with another child? How am I going to buy him a crib or a stroller and all of that? It's so, just a second, sorry. Fix the camera a little. There. Okay, that's better. It's so anxiety producing. It feels like in the moment, I have to say, it feels like a catastrophe. It really does. Another baby. How am I going to budget this? How am I going to manage this? And Efrat comes in and says, okay, there's other concerns besides money. Money is a thing, and we're going to help you whatever we can. But the main concern that we try to impart to women, and I'll go back 3 steps, okay, to the first tenets of Efrat, of when in 1977, abortion was legalized in Israel. And at the time, when the population was maybe a third of what it is today, there were 3 times that there were estimated to be around 60,000 abortions every year. It was an estimation because they were all illegal. None of them were legal. And
did you say 60,000?
60 and 3 zeros afterwards.
Wow.
That was in 1977. Today, the number has been going down over decades.
Yeah.
And it's because of the work of Efrat, because of our bringing the whole issue to the consciousness of women and of families and of people in Israel. And it's just so important. There's less than, I think there's around 17,000 a year, which is also a lot, but it's nowhere near, but we have 3 times the population. We have 9 million people in our country today. So that the actual number has been going down over all the years, even though the population has tripled since over that. And it's because of it's because of the largest, pardon?
No, go ahead. I interrupted you, but I was saying, go ahead.
We're the largest organization that does anything about, helping women. Just stop and think about it. Right. Nobody's happy to terminate a pregnancy. Nobody. But they sometimes don't give themselves a minute to think about it, to stop and breathe and think and figure out how we can do this. And we've had over the years, we've had beautiful campaigns. A lack of money is not a reason to end a life, for example. And I know that saved many babies, many more, even it's impossible even to know how. Is there an echo?
Yeah, there was a slight echo, but we can understand you.
Okay, great. So Efrat's been, in 1977, as I said, abortion was legalized. And Dr. Schussheim, may he rest in peace, was the surgeon, a general surgeon who started the Efrat organization. And he basically poured the practical implications of what we do from the beginning. And that do two sides of the health that we give. One is information, and the other is concrete. 1 second. Now today, in 1977, when it's really bad echo. Sorry.
No, it's okay. We can still hear you. We're doing something on this end that should take the echo out.
Fine.
Yeah, that's better. That's much better.
Okay. So in 1977, way before the internet, the information was even about the development of the fetus in the womb. What does 6-week embryo look like? What does a 12-week embryo look like? That was information that was lacking at the time. It was really hard to know but now everybody has this powerful computer in their hands, actually. So to know what the development of the fetus, of the embryo in uterus is like, it's right there. What women don't know today is about how they're going to feel after the termination. And that's where Efrat comes in with information, because a lot of our volunteers are women who had abortions and really suffered emotionally afterwards. So they come in and want to pay it forward. They want to help other women understand the implications, understand how they're liable to feel afterwards. And so we come in with a very gentle, I don't know how to.
Well, it seems like the volunteers that have gone through it, they would have more empathy and more understanding of the process.
Right.
And so, is there a certain training that Efrat takes the volunteers through?
For sure. We and women who want to volunteer with us, some of them are women who were actually in that situation where they were pregnant, thought that they had no choice. And when they got to Efrat and were given the help that we have to give, they're so happy with the results with their baby that they want to help other women come to the same conclusion.
That's remarkable.
It's really amazing. It really is a wonderful privilege. It's also such an important thing to have somebody to talk to. Just today, a woman was she's married. She's in her mid-30s. She has 2 children. That her second pregnancy was very problematic, and she gave birth to a preemie, and she herself was in grave danger of her life, even the last week of the pregnancy before they finally, she's okay today, the baby's okay today, but she got pregnant in an accident, and she's terrified. She's terrified. She's just scared. Also financially, but also for her health, she's afraid. So felt it was really important for her to talk to a woman who had had an abortion. Just to hear, just to tell her, stop, wait, you have time, think about it. Just live with the idea first for a minute. What happened last time doesn't mean it's going to happen again next time. Let's just take your time and think about it. And that's like the gentle message that we come with, saying, stop, think, help is available. It's not such a simple thing. So, since 1977, that's what we've been doing basically, is giving information and financial support. And almost, I think that around 87,000. That's like a city.
That's awesome.
It really is awesome. And we get stories all the time. We get just amazing stories. So the war broke out on the 10th of October, 7th of October.
And that's Ruth, what I wanted to talk to you about. Efrat been around for so long, but now here's war, and then here comes another challenge, with the soldiers gone, and sometimes they don't get the news that their wives are pregnant until they're out there in the field or whatever. And so how have you had to adjust, if at all, your services since the war has broken out? Because I'm pretty sure that brings another level of anxiety and worry and challenges.
It certainly does. I think that this is a country in trauma. There's no other way to put it. There really is, and it's really difficult times. I have to kind of explain from my house. If I get into my car right now, outside of my house, and drive south, I will be at the Gaza border in an hour and a quarter. So it's like you're talking about off at the front. It's not that far. It's right here. It's a teeny little country the size of New Jersey. So if a husband or a son is a boyfriend is at the front, it's like we're terrified for them and anxious for them, and scared, but it's like it's right here. It's really, really close. It's really not far away. I want to tell you a few stories that happened since the beginning. It was very interesting. I said at the beginning that the vast majority of the women are being pressured by their significant other to have an and we had a cluster at the beginning after the war began of soldiers from the reserve soldiers calling us and saying, please convince my wife to have the baby. And it was like one after another after another after another.
Wow.
Stories, which was just such 180 degrees different than what we're used to hearing. It was just very interesting. There's like some realization that a soldier on the front feels about the holiness of life and how important it is. He wants that baby. He wants to get the baby the gift of life. That's why he's fighting to keep his family safe. That's why he's fighting, and it's right there. It's right there. So also,
I was going to say, and we talk about the woman. Of course, the woman is the one that's carrying the baby and has to, have the right nutrition, and we want to keep her stress free. But then, speaking to one aspect on the man's point of view is, like I said, we experienced this, and we'll get into that in another segment. But the stress that the man has, like, especially if he's off to war, it's like, hey, how am I going to take care of my family? And I'm out here in war serving my country. So you have to take in consideration, which Efrat is doing, consideration that what he's going through as well. So I just know from the materials that we read in the newsletters and things of that, the soldiers are so grateful.
Yes.
They're so grateful for your organization to be there. And then we look at extended families. This thing is it kind of goes out in waves of the community, to bring this life into the world, stress-free and, in a peaceful environment. And so again, I know the war just kind of doubles that on. I tell you what, let's take a break and we'll come back and talk more with Ruth. I am truly enjoying this show and learning so much, and so appreciative of the organization that you do. So we'll take a quick break and we'll be back and we'll talk more with Ruth. Don't forget to subscribe, to share, and to like. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Fire and Life Talk. I see that we are switched up on the platform up top, but it's all good. In the last segment, Ruth, we were talking about the stress that the soldiers may go through. And we also have to say too that there's women in the war, correct?
Yes.
That's fighting as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's many women fighting.
Yeah. So can you explain? I know Gina had a question. Let's just go ahead and get to her.
Yes. How does the involvement of the soldiers reflect a change in their attitude toward their family responsibilities among the men or the women?
It's hard to say exactly. We can notice a cluster. It's like whenever you talk about you're working with people, we see clusters of stories that happen at similar times. And we saw this cluster at the beginning of the war, especially, which continues now and then. But I think that it's the impact of how they're really, our soldiers are risking their lives to keep their families and the rest of Israel safe. You know, the Jewish people is a small people, and we're all pretty much family in one way or the other. There's like a Jewish joke that if two Jews got together and they didn't find somebody some ancestor in common, then they didn't talk long enough. We're very small people, so it's like the intimacy of the danger, actually, is what it is.
That's wonderful.
I can't imagine that it's anything else. But I also wanted to tell another story about that happened right at the beginning when war broke out. We said, well, we have some 86,000 babies that we've saved over 46 years. Many of them are soldiers today, for sure, fighting to keep
Yeah.
Yes.
And our CEO got a special donation to buy warm jackets for the military to bring to soldiers. And one evening, I get a phone call from a volunteer who she's in Efrat for years before me. Also, I'm 23 years, so she might be 30 years or something like that.
Okay.
She calls me up. She said, "Ruthie, we heard that Efrat's giving warm jackets. We need 300 warm jackets for this."
Oh, wow.
20 years ago, the father saw the advertisement that Efrat was helping with warm jackets. He called the volunteer to say, "My son is in the canine unit. We need immediately 300 warm jackets, immediately." So we called the CEO. That was about what he had left, because it was like towards the end of what we bought. And I had to go into the story. What is this story? 20 years ago, this couple were in dire straits financially. They were really in difficulties. She got pregnant, didn't mean to, it happened. He somehow contacted us, and this volunteer, her name is Ilanit, called the woman, and she talked to her, and she explained to her, and she listened to her, and she gave her support, and we helped them. And this baby was born 20 years later. Fast forward 20 years.
Wow.
This young man came with his parents at our visiting center. There was a group of visitors from Mexico who came to support Israel during the war. It must have been December, I think it was. He came, this beautiful, beautiful young man, came with his parents, told their story. And you have to understand what the canine unit is. They train dogs to go into buildings, make sure they're not booby trapped. They are the very tippy end of the front, before the front of the military. It's just amazing. together. They're a beautiful boy. And he demanded that he's your son also. He's not just my son, he's also your son. You have to give him and it was just really something amazing. And the other thing that they did, a lot of people were and unfortunately still are displaced from their homes because of the front is just too close to where the civilians live, both in the north and in the south. And a lot of people have been out of half a year for 8 months, 9 months, and nobody sees the end. So our CEO, Guy Goldschmidt, he filled up a trailer with toys and fun things for the kids, because these are families with children, and went from hotel to hotel where the government is putting up these people, and gave them gifts. And they, the big Efrat sign on the trailer, and people kept on coming over and said, "If you're Efrat, like from the abortions, like from helping people avoid abortions, you helped me. This is your child." And they kept getting these people coming in. We're like, look, 87,000 children out of 9 million people is a big percentage if you think about it.
Oh,
when
yes.
That child has at least 2 parents and maybe some siblings. It's really a lot of people. So it's
with 9 million other relatives as well.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, and that's one thing I love what I'm gathering, what you're saying, the unity and the family, the willingness to call your neighbor family. And I think that is what we're missing in the U.S. and, on a large scale. I miss those days as well. But, as you were talking, you mentioned some of the needs, like toys for the children, coats for the soldiers and everything. So I put the website information on the screen. And a lot of times, when we have these shows like this and we have organizations come on, the needs seem to be so great that people says, hey, my contribution wouldn't help. But we want to encourage anyone and everyone to go to the website to contribute, because every dollar, are you still using shekels?
We're still using shekels.
Yeah, every
new Israeli shekel.
So every form helps.
What we do all year round and all the time, and for many years already. As I started to say, that when a woman turns to us, and the first thing we do is link her with a volunteer who will listen and give her time and give her good advice and teach her from her experience. And then we come in with really serious assistance. We give, after the baby is born, we give a crib and a stroller and a baby bath, and a baby kit with bottles and diapers and clothing and a blanket and a towel and a sheet, all these things that are so needed and so important. And then we give monthly packages of diapers, wipes, food, formula when necessary, for the first 2 years. It's really quite
Wow.
It's very, very, I know that it's really, really meaningful. And the truth is that because all the work is done in the field is done by volunteers, and all these this equipment is bought new, but it's bought in bulk, and we have a central warehouse where we send it out from the price. If you could put a price on a child, you can't.
Right.
But the price, the amount of money that is needed for Efrat to promise assistance, meaningful assistance to the mother to help her decide to continue the pregnancy, is just $1,500, which is like not a huge amount of money. It's really not a huge amount of money. $1,500. In the meantime, we'll see, because prices all over are going way up. But in the meantime, that's what it is. And the generous donor who makes that donation of $1,500 actually gets a certificate with the date of birth and the first name of the child whose donation had to save him or her from termination.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
It's
You know,
really a very moving thing. Yeah.
Like we shared at the beginning of the show, Gina and I had that experience too, where I was still in school and had a promising career after finishing school. But at that time, you know, we were struggling. And then we found out that Gina's pregnant, and it's like, oh my goodness, like, you know, what are we gonna do? Da 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 da. So it was on me. I talked Gina into, hey, we got to get an abortion. That's the only way I seen out where we didn't, where, you know, the pressures were going to be more enormous and the hardships. And
Right.
that's why I was able to share that. That's all I was able to see, and the pressure of the man being on it. So I didn't want to quit school because, again, once I graduated, there's a promising career. So we actually went to a clinic that I found, and I'm thinking this was so long ago. It was we looked in the phone book. I don't know if they have the phone books in Israel, but that's how long ago
Not
it
anymore.
was.
We used to.
Yeah. So I started in the A's for abortion. You know, I started in the A's for abortion, and it was this clinic. And I remember walking in, and they had children's toys there, and I said, "Oh my goodness, how insensitive!" You know. But what it was it was a clinic to talk you out of having the abortion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we know that God intervened, and immediately when we checked in, they split us up. And one lady took us to one room, and they took Gina to another room. And I mean, it was this organization, I never forget. She was very small in stature, but she was full of fire. How dare you want to abort this child? She's going in. She said, and I guess my posture was like, I was getting offended. She's like, you want to fight me now? You want to fight me? I'll fight for you. I'll fight you to fight for that baby. And that's when it hit me. That's when it hit me. So they brought us back together, and Gina's crying. she's just weeping. You know, they got her, and then they took me into this room to talk to the director, which was a male. And the first question he asked me, what are you afraid of? And I told him I was afraid of not having enough, not being able to take care of the family, not being able to finish school. And, you know, they brought all my tools for my classes. I had interviews. They paid for to go on the interviews, bought a suit. We had all the diapers. We had everything we needed to take that financial pressure off. And that organization is still around today, and we're so thankful. So again, we understand the impact of what your organization is doing.
Yes, we do.
And we also see the passion that you have. I don't know if you said you were going to fight anyone, but
I actually teach my volunteers that you can catch more flies with honey than with vinegar.
Yeah.
But that's me, okay? That's, you know. And I teach the volunteers to be very accepting and quiet, and just, you know, and just come in a quiet way to. But the truth is that every volunteer has her own style, because she is her own person. And even if I can tell her what she's supposed to say or not supposed to say, she says it in her own way.
Right.
Yeah.
And what we've learned with God's help, with individual help like that, is when we speak to, you know, in the old days, it was very important to say that we have a volunteer in every city and town, because the volunteers used to go and visit the house and meet with the people face to face. Today, almost everything is done by phone. And what is really important today is the story. We want to connect women, the woman who turns to us, to a volunteer who speaks her language. Israel is a country of immigrants. Sometimes it is actually her language. You know, if she speaks French or English or Spanish, then it's good to have a
Right.
volunteer who actually speaks her first language. It's a lot more comfortable and more conducive to letting your emotions out, really.
That's good.
But the story
Yeah, I
is
think
so important, and that's a very moving story that you just told, Pastor Barry.
yeah,
Really,
it's very impactful even till today, because my thought, and it's something that we advocate and we do now. When she said, "I'll fight you for the life of that baby," it changed my whole perspective, because she didn't know us, she didn't know the baby, but she was willing to fight for
Yeah.
life. And so we honor that. We honor that for all the volunteers. Um, everyone that's involved, and that's why we wanted to have you on the show, because of this great work. It needs to be advertised. It needs to be out there. People need to know that they have options,
Yes.
and and that there's people that loves life.
Yes.
um, at the time of this broadcast, we just had in our city, that's really impacted our city. They found a newborn baby in the trash can. And in the U.S., I know in our state, there's a law that says, I think up to 13 weeks, you can actually take the baby, a newborn baby, and take it to a fire station. And only information that they need is there any health issues with the baby? And that's the only questions that you have to answer. And no one will take you to jail or anything, but you have to just be willing to go drop that baby off, so we wouldn't have instances like we're experiencing now. So I can't judge that person or couple or whatever. Maybe they didn't know that they had options. They didn't know
Right.
what to do. We can only
Right.
speculate and assume. So we still have challenges.
Yes.
We still have challenges, but we share our experience, as much as we can, or when we're led to. So that's why we wanted to have you on the show, Ruth. We're thankful.
Right.
We're thankful that you are in place.
I
Yes.
And
think
I
we,
think Nina had a question as well.
Well, I just thank you, because what I hear is that you're a bridge, um, for those, and you guys are working together, and I think that's just wonderful. But I know that you're doing so much now. What do you see the long time effects in what you're doing? What increased involvement will this affect on the soldiers and on the families that you are being involved with?
that we have a saying that saving a life is the same as saving an entire world, and
Yes,
Mm.
it's
that's awesome.
so we've saved already 87,000 worlds, basically.
Yes.
So fantastic.
Yes. Yeah.
There's there's a few things. One thing is that in Israel, the we don't have any oil. They say that there's gas offshore, but it's we don't have very many natural resources. Our natural resources are our people. And so we're
Mm.
helping these people come, like that young man in the canine unit, like that,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
like one of our mothers who's studying medicine, and many who have finished law school and teaching school with our help, because we have a program to continuation that's called Rise Up, that we give occupational counseling. We have a wonderful social worker who herself,
Yeah.
I spoke about, we're an immigrant country. She herself made Aliyah, came to Israel from Brazil. And she gives occupational counseling. What are you good at? What do you feel? Where do you feel like your talents are? How can I help you move ahead? Like all, in that direction of deciding what she wants to work at. And then we give help with daycare, which is a huge expense here, as in most places, I imagine. But here,
Yeah.
really, two incomes is practically, it's impossible to manage without it. So to help a woman go back to work and stand on her own feet and help provide for her family is such a big thing. So we give help to pay for daycare, actually. So this is all impact. These are all helping and get back on their feet, helping women do what their heart sent them towards. It's technically, it's easy to have an abortion. It's not a complicated
Right.
thing.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, Ruth, we need to take another commercial break. But when we come back, I want to talk about the community involvement that the doctors that help out. From what I understand, your neighbor baking a loaf of bread, things of that nature. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back. Welcome back to Fire and Life Talk. We are having a great discussion with Ruth Tahar. Tahar? I'm going to get it right. So don't forget to like, to subscribe to our show, because we have fantastic shows every week. But today has been a very special day because it's about saving lives. It's about helping people and helping your community and how the community gets involved. And I love this about Israel, and I'm pretty sure other nations too. But here in the U.S., we've been experiencing a lot of division. But it's so refreshing to hear someone talk about, as a nation is still family.
Yes.
So in this segment, we wanted to talk about the involvement on every level of the communities and how the doctors get involved. And you mentioned counselors, in the last segment, because again, the long-term effect, mentally and emotionally. Tell us some things about that, how Efrat is helping with that, Ruth.
Okay. So our department, it's called Rise Up, that helps women get back on their feet. It's like a continuation of the program of helping them. Helping them get back on their feet, get back into their job, go back out into the workplace to help provide for their family. It gives these women such strength and such like a feeling of self-worth. It's all these things about doing things that that are helping your family, helping yourself, moving ahead, growing, doing, I love that in the last advertisement, there was a Thursday reminders, and one was, I can do that. I love that. That's what we're talking about. That's exactly what we're talking about, is that you feel like you're in an impossible situation, but there are options, and we're here to help. And I also involve other organizations occasionally when it's, I let other people get the good deeds also and help as well. And also I can't stress enough how important it is that our donors are the ones who give us the resources, give us the strength to be able to help. Without the donors, what could we do?
That's right.
We could talk, we could listen.
Yes.
We need more. We need to put our money where our mouth is in a way. That's kind of a gross way to say it, but meaning that
that's just the truth.
woman, at the beginning, she's in her 8th week. She could easily have gone for termination. She turned to Efrat. She told us that she's deliberating. She doesn't know what to do. We get her to send in the documents, income reports, pregnancy reports, whatever, what she needs to send in. And she gets a written list of exactly what she's going to get after the baby's born. And I can't tell you how many times I have gotten letters and thank you from women who haven't seen a diaper from us yet. They haven't gotten a bottle or a pacifier, but they know they're going to get it. And it gives them strength. It gives them strength to know that you took a weight off my chest, is what I hear all the time. And it's just a letter with a promise of help. And it means so much. It means so much. The first thing that it means, and this I hear all the time from volunteers who were once helped by us and from women who were being helped by us, they know they're not alone.
Yes.
The women know that somebody has their back, somebody is with them and wants to help and is there for them. And that's such an important thing. Such an important
presence.
thing. If your boyfriend or husband is on the front and you're alone, and it's terrifying. And here somebody cares enough to promise you this help. And from other women that the help is real and that it's really meaningful and that it's really important. So it's a huge privilege to be part of. I can't even say how much. I really just can't. How much.
Yeah, we can tell, Ruth, that you love to serve.
Yes.
And the importance of just being present in someone's life when they're going through the challenges. And throughout the stages of pregnancy, I really believe that the mother should go through it in joy.
Yeah.
Have the joy of having a baby, the joy of
that's the other thing that we hear a lot of the time is that the promise of health gives me the ability to continue the pregnancy with joy. Exactly like that.
Yeah.
Joy with serenity, with quiet.
Yeah.
It's very important. I can't even.
Yes. Yeah. And it keeps the baby, the baby is not stressful because the baby feels what the mother's going through, with anxiety in their body and all these things. I'm sitting here talking like, I have babies, but it's just an observation, from the man's point of view. I guess getting a little bit older and experiencing some things. So, when we were preparing for the show, Ruth, I was like, Gina, you really got to take the lead on this one. You can talk woman to woman, but I'm seeing during the show, here I am talking about, having babies and having joy and the stress on the body. Yeah, that brings a lot of joy. I know, Gina, you had another question.
Yes. How, as a community, can we help young couples walk through these challenges, as people that want to serve and volunteer and help those that are going through these tasks or these the pregnancy?
I can just really refer back to what Pastor Gary told his side of the story and your side of the story. You spoke a little bit about your own experience. And the word that comes to mind is empathy.
Yes.
Empathy. Just, you've been there, you've done that, you know what it feels like. And it's coming with as little judgment as possible.
Yes.
When you come to a person accepting and empathetic, then you can give them room to breathe and to stop and to really look and examine her own wishes and her own wants and her own hopes and prayers. And that's all so precious, to give the woman space to think and to be with herself and to know that she's supported and that she's not alone. Those are all, that's like, you know what, in the later years, they'll remember the diapers that you gave.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll remember that you were there for 2 years with with assistance and with baby equipment and with help for the daycare. And they'll remember all that. But what they most remember, and in my experience, and I'm there for 23 years, so I've spoken to women who have, big kids already. And the word that comes all the time is that you're not alone. You're not alone.
That's right.
And I have a volunteer. We just had a wonderful small group of volunteers together in a conference, a little conference. And of the volunteers who were there, 4 of them were mothers of children who brought their children to the conference. What I'm talking about, children. One was a 20-year-old man, a 16-year-old girl, a 19-year-old girl, and a 9-year-old boy. And they told their experience. We actually got the bigger kids to watch the 9-year-old so that they wouldn't be in the room when their mothers are talking. But we got the mothers who are volunteers. They've been helping women since, to tell their story and to tell which part of what was the impact of the volunteer on their decision to continue the pregnancy. And the help is super meaningful. The promise of help really helps them relax into this pregnancy with happiness. And the fact that somebody's there listening to you is just such a big thing. With an empathetic.
That's awesome. Well, I tell you what, Ruth, time went by so fast. Again, we want to thank you. Yeah. I know when we get rolling, it's always like this every week. We'll get to rolling, and I'll look up at the clock, and it's time to close out. But we want to thank you again from the bottom of our heart for taking your time out to come and tell us about not only what your organization does, but to share your passion for what you do. Every time you say it, it's a privilege. Yeah. And I really believe that if we would all adapt that attitude and that perspective, that we can serve not only our communities, but our cities, our nation in such a great way. So I'm very inspired. And if you would stay on after we close out, okay, and we'll talk more if you have time.
Could I say one sentence? Could I just say one sentence? Sure, in closing, that I really want to invite all of your listeners and all of your watchers at home to partner with Efrat in saving babies in Israel.
Yes.
I invite you to take part.
Yes.
And again, the first step you can take is go to the website that's on the screen and hey, tell them Ruth sent you.
You got it.
So we hope you found, to our viewers, we hope that you found today's discussion with Ruth insightful and inspiring, and about the incredible work that Efrat does in accomplishing their mission that they've been giving to make sure that life comes into this earth. I think that is awesome. And let me see, you said, I forget the exact words, but you bring purpose in. I think, well, when the baby does get here, the baby does have a purpose. So I think I kind of adopted that and put it in my own words, Ruth. I'm sorry about that. So don't forget to our viewers, you come back next week. We thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, to like, and to share. That's the other one. So again, we're thankful, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to Fire and Life Talk, where Jesus is Lord. If you would like more information, visit our website at fireandlife.org.